Hi everyone. So, friendly reminder that if you want to grow in life, you want to emotionally mature, you're going to have to take yourself out of your comfort zone and you're going to have to stop living in isolation. As women, and especially black women, when we go through something, we've gone through traumatic experiences, you know what we do? We self isolate and we heal, we elevate ourselves. I think it's amazing how resilient and how agile we really are, and how we really adapt to circumstances and we really just like push and go above and beyond. Like, Black women are amazing, but here's a little bit of the problem with that is that when you are creating an environment where you have peace, right? You've created this environment of peace where it's just you, no one bothers you, no one stresses you out, you don't deal with anything you don't want to deal with, you don't talk to anybody you don't want to talk to, you don't mess around with anything, you don't really have to exercise conflict resolution, you don't have to have tough conversations because you've created your own little peace bubble, is you're not growing. There's a certain point where you don't grow because you have no ability to handle real life relationships and weather any storms. And now you're just kind of like isolated in this little place where it's just you and you're always in peace. And of course, you're always smiling. And of course, you always have joy. And of course, you're always traveling. You're saving your money. Nobody's bothering you. Nobody's stressing you out. You work hard, you save your money, you do all the wonderful things, but you're not growing as a person in the ways that enrich us and relationships and in terms of self-identity, confidence, relational identity, how we connect with others, the value and the love that other people see in us, right? And relationships, friendships. And I'm not talking about just romantic, I'm talking about in general, how we relate to the world, how we connect, how we show up as ourselves, how we have confidence in ourselves shows up in how we engage with the world in so many ways. So a lot of times women think I'm just going to put myself in this little bubble and self isolate because then there's no possible way that I can get hurt again. I won't give anybody the power over me. I will just be able to heal. I'll be in my own space and place, but that's not realistic. And there's always a part of you that has to expose yourself to the world and to people and to relationships in order to really truly grow and heal. You don't know what type of friend you are going to be until you put yourself in a position to be a good friend. You don't know what kind of wife you're going to be until you put yourself in a position to be in a serious relationship with someone and to be vulnerable in that way. You don't know if you're going to be a good or fun person to be around because you don't put yourself in that position to be a good and fun person. You put yourself in this little bubble because you're like, I don't want to ruffle the feathers. I've done enough. Or maybe you've been hurt before, or maybe even you just don't want to get hurt. But at a certain point, isolation is not about consecration, which is when you set something apart for a certain time so that it's designated for a specific purpose. You're outside of consecration. Now you're just in isolation, and when you're isolating out of fear. So I want to combat all the women today who are isolating themselves out of fear to say that, like, you have to have some sort of relationships, you have to have friendships, you have to engage, you have to try dating, you have to try and open yourself up. I mean, I know so many women who live their lives in this isolation. They stay at home, they're at home most of the time, they don't go outside, they don't like to do anything outside really. They hang out with the same one or two people, and then they expect to go get married, or they expect to have like this really good friend circle group where all the girls come together and they have fun. And it's like, you're never gonna get to that place if you don't build relationships. How do you know, and how do you solidify your identity in certain things? You have to be tested, right? So it's one thing for me to say, I'm not a confrontational person. I don't like to argue. I don't like fussing with people. I don't like getting mad, but I'm not being tested. So I don't know what I am because I'm not being tested. And if the minute I get tested, I go off and cuss everybody out or curse everybody out, depending on where you're from, then I'm not a peaceful person. Okay? Because if you're like, I'm peaceful until I'm triggered, that's not peace. So if you really understand how you are, if you're like, I'm a giving person, but you only give when you feel like it and not when somebody has a need and you weren't anticipating the need, but you have it, then how are you a giving person? Because you're not ready to give. Your posture is not ready to give. It's I give when I feel like it, when I want to, when it's convenient for me. So I know that some people are going to disagree with this perspective, but you really, and I'm not saying go out there and expose yourself to everybody and allow everybody to be in your space. And no, that's not the point. The point is that you really are tried and tested in relationships and friendships, family, romantic partners and relationships. So like a part of you in terms of really growing, you have to allow yourself to be in environments where you're tested. You can't say you're peaceful, loving, caring, and kind, but you're self-isolated and you don't have relationships with people. You can't say that, but you don't want to give people chances. You can't say I'm not judgmental and I'm accepting of people, but you don't let anybody into your space. You can't say that I'm not emotionally unavailable. I'm open-hearted, but then you're emotionally unavailable because you don't like to talk to anybody about anything, and you don't like to talk to anybody about anything you've ever been through, or your feelings or your goals, your interests, your partnerships. Sometimes you got to look in the mirror and you got to understand, okay, I have grown to this certain part. I've gone to therapy. I've done the things. I've worked on myself. I eat healthier. I get sleep. I've set boundaries. And now I need to be a better person. I have to push myself out there to be a better friend, to not be the friend that's like, I'm gonna only do what's convenient for me. I have to push myself out there to say, you know what, let me try dating or giving somebody a chance. That you have to push yourself out there to say, you know what, maybe let me try understanding my family from a different perspective. You have to put yourself out there and trust yourself and say, let me do something that makes me uncomfortable. Let me put myself in a position I've never put myself in before. Let me like get out my apartment and I'm gonna sit at a cafe and work today, instead of sitting in my apartment. And then, after hours, I don't feel like going outside, so I Instacarted, and then I didn't feel like cooking dinner, so I DoorDash. So it's like, so when do you go outside? And then people literally think that's fun, like, oh, that's normal. It's normal for me to be completely isolated majority of my time. It's not. And so I know people are going to have different opinions about this. Like I said, there's a time for consecration and isolation, but be in prayer about that. Like, okay, God, when is the right time? And then when should I be pushing myself out a little bit? When does God say it's time? It's time for you to go and experience life. It's time for you to get outside of the comfort zone. And those are the questions. Those are the questions you should ask yourself, because there's only so much that you can grow without the assistance of somebody else. For anything to grow, it has to be pushed. It has to be put in a different environment. And at some point you might be able to grow a seed, and you might be able to grow that seed inside, but at some point that seed needs direct sunlight. At some point that seed needs more water. It might need a different environment. So you might be stagnant and might not be experiencing what you want in life because you're refusing to grow, because you've created this beautiful little nest that's comfortable for you, and you're isolated, and you're like, nobody comes in, nobody comes out. It reminds me of The Mending Wall. I believe that's what's called by Robert Frost, one of my favorite poems. But it says, like, fences make good neighbors, right? And the whole point of it is, it's ironic, right? Like, a fence is not a good neighbor. It's the point of a fence is to keep things out and to keep things in. So what fences have you built? Have you built all these fences in your life that nothing can get in and nothing can get out? And it's big. You like it like that because it's peaceful and it's quiet and it works for you, and nobody's disturbing you, nobody's triggering you. So you're just in this constant la 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 state of being, and everything is just peaceful, and you're looking out the window and looking at all the trees blow and looking at all the people walking around, and you say that's good for them, but I like my little space and I'm my own little oasis and sanctuary. And there's nothing wrong with building that internally in your home, but then the other part of you has to grow. So ask yourself, have I created an environment that's so comfortable that I don't grow? Can I handle regular things that require for relationships to grow? Can I handle difficult conversations? Can I handle inconvenience? Can I handle, and then I would argue that if you're in a position where you can't handle difficult conversations or inconvenience, and you're not in a position to help anybody else unless it's convenient to you, then you haven't built a safety, you've built a survival nest. And for that time, a survival nest may be necessary, but it's not supposed to be a forever strategy. So what you want to build is a safety nest, okay? And that's different than a survival nest. My home should be my place of sanctuary. It should be my place of peace. I should have a place I go back to recover. But also, I should have built enough strength and mechanisms and safety within myself to be able to go out into the world and to engage with people and to build relationships and friendships. And that if I say that I want to one day be a wife and be married to someone, to be a position to be a great wife, because I have peace within me and I have learned conflict resolution and I've learned temperament and I've learned discipline, that I am putting myself in a position to be able to handle the fact that life is not a nice little safety nest and little sanctuary that I interact with. So I hope you get what I'm saying. But for the girls out there, start praying about it. Okay, God, this is what you had me do at a certain time. You consecrated me for this particular time. Now, where do you want me to go? How do you want me to handle this? How do you want me to move? Because God does not intend for you to live your entire life in isolation. He doesn't intend for you to live your entire life in your little safety bubble. He has so much more for you than just that. All right. I need to go because I have to go back to work, y'all. So love you. God bless you. And I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.